How's it going, everybody? Welcome to FoundFlix. On this Thing Explained, we're looking at anything for Jackson, following a sinister couple that hatch a supernatural scheme to resurrect their dead grandson via a pregnant woman. I quite enjoy this, in particular due to it standing out as quite distinct in a sea of similar kinds of setups. Rather than a typical possession and then exorcism to remove the spirit, here we essentially have a reverse exorcism. A family hoping to bring back their lost grandson back to life via a living host. Another aspect that helps it stand out is that our main characters are old, not the typical protagonist in horror flicks, which is another interesting aspect, as the couple isn't exactly the holiest, since they kidnap a girl and are using her for their evil means and everything, yet somehow we still feel sympathetic to the characters and their plight throughout, in spite of their undeniably evil actions. This to me is by far the strongest aspect to the film, and everything hinges on the relationship, as we continue to care and hope that our couple's plan works even as things inevitably spiral out of control and they are dragged further into meddling with the forces of evil. It all leads to a quite ambiguous ending that leaves many things of the story left hanging in the air. And that is why we are here today. So let's dive into anything for Jackson, breaking down the story, including the real reason why the couple is driven so far, as well as explaining just what the heck exactly happens in the end. Hearing a record playing that Daisy Daisy Give Me Your Answer True tune, we enter into a quite nice looking house. An older woman, Audrey, doing some cooking. Her ever faithful husband, Henry, enters with concerns about an uneven hem on his pants. She can't even see it, but he's worried that he looks like some kind of rapper guy. Yeah, right. Though actually, if rappers started dressing like him, that would be amazing. All button up and vests and whatnot. She seems quite preoccupied with the time, which he assures her he has his eye on. She's here, Audrey blurts, him remarking, oh, she's early. Both run outside, and a few moments later bring in a young pregnant woman, Shannon, cautioning to watch the baby. And Audrey bops her with a candlestick and they stuff her in a lift. She starts coming to, finding herself bound and gagged. A boy is there and smiles, saying aloha means both hello and goodbye. Audrey calls out she's up and reads from a pre-prepared statement introducing themselves. First and foremost, apologizing for scaring her, but they found that this was the best way for her to go missing, and they mean her and her unborn child no harm. But make no mistake, they must do it and won't waver, no matter how much she begs. Henry leaves to do a test, and Audrey removes the gag, Shannon immediately screaming for help. Yet we can't hear a peep outside, pleased with the soundproofing they had done to the room. Wow, they really had this thing planned out, huh? You don't mess around when it comes to Jackson. She keeps screaming anyway, Audrey informing her that no one can hear her. Why are you doing this? She shrieks, and Audrey calmly reveals that they need to bring their grandson back, and this is the only way. Her seeing the same boy playing nearby. Him? She asks, confused. You can see him? Audrey gasps. She continues that he must know that she's here to save him, as Jackson is dead. Jackie loves music, she smiles, and puts on a jaunty big band record. Shannon continuing to scream for help to no avail. She tells her husband about Jackson showing himself to Shannon. The appearing, he remembers. Appearing to the host is a good thing. She nods. He's coming back to us. Henry thinks he should stay home today, but she argues that they need to keep up appearances and do no changes in their routine. You're right, he admits. I always am, she smiles, wishing for him to have a great day. Outside, he finds Rory wanting to shovel his snow. He's a bit aggressive about doing it, asking for just 2 minutes to clear a path. But Henry fibs that his wife is sick and needs some rest. He only presses further. I'll get my shovel. It's whisper quiet. Hey, get the picture here, Rory. He keeps things genial, sniffing to come back in a couple days, and asks to move his truck as he's a tad late for work. Audrey enters with a tray of pills, telling her don't worry, they're just vitamins. Oh sure, I have every reason to trust you, don't I, lady? But to prove her point, she takes one herself. She digs through her jacket, finding Shannon's phone. With some effort, she manages to get to it and unlocks it, but Audrey returns and snatches it up. Playing back footage from a nanny cam in a nearby stuffed bear, she sees her typing in her password. She growls to, give me back my fucking phone. Audrey chiding, that bad language is not good for the baby. She uses the phone, as she says, for a little insurance on their end, and does a status update on her social media, as well as setting up a date with some random guy asking if she's DTF, which takes her a minute to decode to her dismay. If you can't even say it, you shouldn't be doing it, thinking that is a good rule of thumb. She proudly calls Henry, telling him that she's figured it out. Navigating phones, no small feat for the elderly. Him complimenting her as a full-blown techie now. Believe me, we thought of everything. No one has more time than a grieving family, she says ominously. An on-edge man storms into Henry's office, worried about having HPV and starts making a scene, demanding to see him now. The nurse pipes up he's supposed to be with Miss Becker right now, aka Shannon, now understanding that she's his patient. He lies that she came in earlier to her confusion, mentioning the hospital keeps asking about her since she's 37 weeks pregnant and everything. Through a few flashbacks that fill in the gaps, we see how the couple came to their plan. Clutching an old ratty book, which he brings up is 1,000 years old, she asks him to watch. She pricks her finger, drawing some blood, and drips it onto a dead crow. She then reads a passage from the book, and the crow starts spasming back to life, looking good as new. He's baffled as to how she did it, shrugging, found it in the book, and needed to test to see if it was real. He's still uncertain. You can't just bring dead things back to life. Her shouting back, well, she's been doing it all morning. Beaming it works. The book is real. We can do this. We're getting him back, my love. Sure, trust the book of evil. That always works out. He snaps back to the present, outside of a community center, Audrey noting that he seems nervous. Well, yeah, I got a kidnapped lady in my house and I'm using evil spells and stuff that will get to you. On the way in, they say hi to some weirdo Ian, handing him back a book, which he says that they can keep. And to break the awkwardness, Henry whisks her away. He still follows after, bringing up the book Henry asked him to look for, but according to some other experts in the subs, so maybe not exactly experts, believe it doesn't exist, but does have a lead on a guy who sold it. He divulges to Audrey that he did ask Ian for help out of desperation, but that was before he found the book. Kind of hilariously, they're here for a Church of Satan meeting, the leader welcoming everyone to some snacks after the meeting to Ian's annoyance. They all don hoods and light black candles over a table adorned with a pentagram. They chant glory be to Satan, Father of Earth, and to Lucifer, our guiding light. Hail Satan, everyone exclaims in unison. Man, they really let everyone use the community center nowadays. We next see Henry meeting Shannon and seemingly vetting her as a candidate for their unseemly purposes. Apparently she was in thinking that she had a tapeworm, but it's not that. It's that she's pregnant, he informs her. She's dumbfounded, Henry apologizing, thinking it would be good news. He vaguely mentions there are options, but is also happy to talk to the father. But he's long gone, she tells him, and as far as family, it sounds like things are shaky with her mom, concerned that telling her this would just give her another reason to call her a failure. And he's like, ding ding ding, I got us one, sending a message to Audrey expressing this. It looks like I'm having a baby, she sighs. Yes you are, Henry says, and starts tearing up, chuckling, oh, he just gets emotional sometimes too. Yeah, but not for the reason that he's making it seem to her. He asks for a photo for the records, excusing at his age, his memory sometimes needs a little reminder. Should I say cheese, she asks? Say miracle, he decides, seeing the photo is now framed in her now prison room. She wakes up, alarmingly coughing up blood. The couple on each side of her setting up some kind of ritual thing. She puts some blood on her forehead, Shannon pleading that they don't have to do this, her promising the worst is over. No, not even close. She starts reciting, we ask for an audience, wishing to invite our Dark Lord to a seat in our home. She takes out a knife, both cutting their hands. My blood is your blood. One side with a toy that belonged to Jackson, and what looks like a heart on the other. Where'd you pick that up? Shannon starts choking, her head forced back, and the lights in the room start blinking. The record starts playing by itself, and thunder crashes outside. She spots the boy by the wall, telling him to come and take the baby. Henry encouraging, you can do it, come on little Jaxie. On the photo, an upside down cross appears on Shannon's head, the object on the ground starting to sizzle. She looks back, seeing a frightening beast, sending Audrey screaming. It goes over to Shannon, and the spasming suddenly stops. They check her heartbeat, and she, along with the baby, are okay. Audrey is confident upon hearing that the baby is in fact Jackson's. She knows it's her grandson's heartbeat, but even if they did it, it appears to come with some unwelcome side effects. Henry wakes up to what looks like Audrey in the bathroom, moaning that he had a hell of a time getting sleep, her still turned away. He continues that he had his doubts, but admits that she was right. His phone rings, and it's Audrey asking for help with the groceries. Oh, then who's in the bathroom? We hear something clink to the floor. Teeth, it seems, one by one. We see it's a woman flossing way too hard, mouth bloody, as more teeth start falling out. Audrey enters asking what's wrong, and looking back, they vanished. Apparently, they opened the door to letting some ghosties in. Things continue growing more complicated when Henry finds Detective Bellows there in search of the missing girl. girl. She retraces her steps, including an appointment with him. He uses the same line from before that she canceled. Well, then when did she call? And his fib is exposed by Talia entering, correcting that she didn't call, remember? You said you saw her earlier on the day. Oh, right, my mistake. Mentioning he saw her walking by. And Bellows probes further for details, saying she walked by his house around 9 a.m. She thanks him and takes her leave. He calls Audrey in a panic, and Audrey tells him to relax. They've taken all of this into account, but he spills about telling Bellows he saw her walking by their house. And then she becomes distressed about the potential of many more follow-ups as a result of this. There's a knock at the door, probably the police, she fumes. It's rather a little girl in a classic ghost outfit, innocently saying trick or treat and holding out a bucket. She tells him that she doesn't like games, calling it cruel, and they just keep repeating trick or treat, trick or treat. There's a knock on the back door, and when peering out the window, it's the same kid. No, she moans, locking the door. She sees them inside now, on the other side of a bathroom door. It creepily slides open on its own. Trick or treat, please, she repeats. She runs upstairs to the phone, and they appear again, scurrying past. Henry answers the phone, her breathless. I need help. She's trying to get me. Maybe they should take your soul, he responds. The kid hits the elevator button, and she runs down as it comes up to the floor. And now they're inside, staring dead-eyed, now appearing much larger in size and boasting a much more menacing male's voice. Trick or treat. She falls onto the stairs, and the sheet goes limp into nothing on top of her. She talks to Shannon about it, her having heard the screams, and reveals it was actually her daughter she saw. She used to dress as a ghost every year for Halloween. She tried and failed to get her to try any other costume, but she refused. They like what they like, she shrugs, and can't believe that she ever tried to change that, thinking it's silly now. She asks what happened to her daughter, Audrey responding dreamily, I love my Jackson, and Jackson loves his Gammy's cookies. Okay, alright, sure, woo. Alone, Shannon slams the bed to knock the camera teddy down and starts working at the cuffs. Half of the room suddenly dark and bathed in blue. Another ghost with a bag on their head appears, all twisted and groaning, dragging its body across the floor. It stands and runs at her, then ragdolls back. He lifts his arm over the bed frame, climbing towards her and gets right on top, biting at her belly. Audrey enters and he turns to her, disappearing when Henry shows up. She's now starting to understand the nature of the forces that they've called directly into their lives, thinking they might be in over their head, considering they made a mistake. He shuts off the light, telling her to get some sleep, her still sitting in the dark looking restless. In the morning, there's another frightening sign related to what they've done. Out on the patio, seeing a murder of crows flying around, certain that it's due to what they did. Oh no, he groans, noticing Rory is back. He tasks Audrey with sedating Shannon and goes to intervene. He jovially tells him he's here to clean his drive, Henry telling him it's still okay, and he tries to close the door on him. He explains that he called his wife and told her that they wouldn't need him for a month or two, and Rory reveals that he hasn't actually been home in a while. She's gone and chucked him. He apologizes, offering to send flowers or something, and Rory's attitude changes, perking up that he's gonna give him a freebie, and he ain't leaving until he lets him do his thing, leaving him no choice but to go along. He yells out hello to Audrey, and he's glad that she's feeling better, Henry instructing her to just smile and wave, then gasps, suddenly anxious. What's wrong? Well, we don't know what the other ghosts are or why they are. Perhaps they did it incorrectly, and it's not actually Jackson in the room. Comforting her as usual, he tells her in a few days that they'll have him back and be on their way to Mexico, and plans to burn down the whole house along with any ghosties lingering inside. Strangely, Rory calls out in agreement. Yep, you did it right. He's in there and coming back to you, and then proceeds to jam his head into the snowblower, shooting out blood everywhere, and a tooth lodges in the window's glass. Well, that was certainly shocking. And since we know Rory wasn't a ghost, it looks like something is able to possess anyone nearby and cause them to take their own lives. That's what you get for trying to shovel people's snow for free. You deserve it. So long to your cranium. Audrey goes to clean Shannon up, spotting another ghost on the way, and bestows her some knitted protectors to slip over the cuffs. Well, how thoughtful. Thank you. Shannon asks if they're going to kill her after all this, and Audrey stays silent, thinking, well, does that mean yes? Seemingly not, bringing up that their first rule was that no harm would come to her or the baby, as she said, and getting wistful says that she reminds her of her own daughter, remembering that she was a good and smart girl that always knew what she wanted. So why not try to bring her back? She believes that she can't come back. She was in the car, but they didn't actually lose her right away, flashing back to her daughter after the accident in a wheelchair. Audrey saying that they renovated the entire house to accommodate her every need in the hopes that she would be able to try and move on, her shedding a tear and looking dazed. She admits that she didn't realize how impossible it is to move on after losing a child until she lost hers, getting emotional. normal. Seeing the elevator door open, we hear a body thudding down below, meaning that her daughter took her own life and indeed was not able to ever overcome the loss. Although Audrey is positive that she'd be happy knowing they're helping to bring back Jackson. Elsewhere, Henry is dealing with the pieces of Rory, but wait, what about when the snow melts? Didn't really think that part through, did ya? It perhaps won't be that long before being caught, as he's interrupted by a call from Bellows following up on some notes and wants to stop by the house for a chat. He does his best to persuade her to meet at his clinic the next day, but she's steadfast to just come there. Besides, she's already in the neighborhood. No way getting around this one, Henry. Shannon tries to appeal once more to Audrey to keep her alive, suggesting she wants to be the boy's mother along with them, saying that she understands where they're coming from. Although she doesn't agree with it, well, can't really blame you there. Just as she'd do anything for him, she's just trying to do the same for her baby. She's uncertain, and well, there's also the unavoidable fact that you guys is old. Who's gonna look after him after they pass? This seems to wear her down. Audrey asking, "You'd really do that? And you're not just saying it? I'll do whatever you want. Please," she begs. Before they can discuss further, there's a knock at the door, but we know exactly who it is when Henry runs back home, and Bellows is in the girl's room, telling them that they're both under arrest. He tries to claim that he did it all solo, and Audrey had nothing to do with it, while Shannon is crying to be let out. Bellows tells them it's all over now, they just have to do one thing, and blows her brains out, everyone freaking out, the shot still ringing in their ears. Henry is quickly back to business, asking if she called for backup. Fortunately she didn't, and knowing they have to get rid of her body too, drag her out of the room, leaving a nice blood trail. Well great, now I gotta clean that up too, these ghosts are making a mess all over the place. Henry is clearly growing more nervous, his leg shaking uncontrollably, hearing a loud banging at the door. It's that weirdo Ian from their Satan group asking if they actually do have the book. Henry divulges that he went through several museums as well as experts to find it, in the end flying to Jerusalem, where he bought it off a shady looking guy who seemed more than pleased to be rid of it. And it must have come at a hefty price, telling Ian, well, they don't have a retirement plan left. He checks it out, noting that it is actually written in several different languages, dialects, as well as religions, and must have been pieced together over many years, thinking it might indeed be the oldest book in the entire world. They ask Ian for his help, as they're at least bound through the church. He shows a particular chunk off involving invoking a spirit into a new vessel. Ian brings up, well, first off, you can't invite anyone specifically, and sighs, realizing they must have done it. What if we did? Then I'd be an idiot for standing here, he replies, the couple fearfully grabbing each other's hands. They detail what they specifically did, asking a demon called Surgat to bring him back. This demon is listed as the one who opens all locks, and he corrects them, yes, Surgat is the one who opens the gate between our world and the world of tormented souls, and is technically the first step in bringing someone back, but clarifies it's not a private invitation. The problem being they open this door, and now every ghost in purgatory is going to start crawling out to find a host, asking which host they used. They bring him to Shannon's room, asking if Jackson is in there. No, but he can be, he offers. They actually did do the right thing, but only completed half of the ceremony. Now they need to follow it up and trade the life to invite him in. Trade the life? Audrey whimpers. Yeah, you gotta trade the mother's life for the tormented one's soul to be able to come back. Well, so much for the couple's #1 rule of no harm being done to her, I guess, but there is no stopping them now. They inquire if Ian can perform the ritual. Of course I can, he proudly declares. He's been studying his whole life for this, but still can't believe that it's all real. He asks to keep the book when they're done, along with requesting a fee of 10 G's. Quite a businessman there, Ian, and they decide to go for it tomorrow, as he needs a bit of time to get some more stuff together. He asks if they've been seeing ghosts, which yeah, they're gonna need some salt to spread around Shannon to keep the ghosts from getting to her, calling her unborn baby literally a free ticket back to life for them. Oh, and go ahead and spread some around yourselves too, as the ghosts aren't too picky when it comes to host selection. Anyone is fair game. Henry places a salt barrier at the door, and Shannon brings up what she discussed with Audrey about being his mom, wanting to talk to him about that. He sternly removes his glasses, seething, you know how many people he could sacrifice to bring him back? All of them, whatever it takes. You can't win a moral argument with me. I already made a deal with the devil. Well, he's definitely resigned himself to the whole evil thing. I mean, is this kid really that great? Jeez, a lot of efforts for this little shit. I know the point is he's doing it for his wife, really, and to help her try to move on, and that's what he really means here to me. And this is quickly confirmed when Shannon suggests that he hasn't made the deal yet. He counters the deal was truly made the day that they lost Jackson. I know you love him, she starts, and he interjects, her, getting teary-eyed. Yeah, it's all really really for his wife, not truly just about the kid. We then come to understand just where her guilt comes from, as she was the one that was actually driving the car the day it crashed. So obviously she feels responsible for losing Jackson, as well as her daughter. Pretty heartbreaking. As Henry notes, he realizes that she would never accept what happened, and couldn't expect her to come back up ever. So instead, he joined her going back down into the evil hole. We join Ian poring over the book, which perhaps unsurprisingly is occurring in his mother's basement while listening to heavy metal. His mom keeps calling down to him about having some dinner, Ian growing increasingly annoyed each time. "No, Mom, I don't want any dinner. I'm reading my Satan book." He finally loses his cool, packs up a bunch of books, and returns to the house. Getting no answer, he lets himself in. The ghost cop's still here after her death, Audrey groaning she's been doing that all night. Wacky ghost roommates, what are you gonna do? So the ritual begins, getting Henry to read from a bookmark page, as well as placing dead mice at specific points in the yard. Ian reminds Henry that he is going to have to kill Shannon, but he's not worried about it. He warns there are potential graver consequences if he hesitates at all, and the demon can sense that he's not ready, they'll all die. Henry has a moment of weakness, questioning if this will even work, which draws Ian's ire, telling him to never doubt his presence around me ever again. Hardcore, dude. Hardcore. Audrey paints a pentagram on the floor, and knowing her time is growing short, Shannon again brings up the whole not killing me thing. She lies, saying they did discuss it and both agreed it's a great idea, and goes on laying out a fantasy baby room with a crib for her and everything. She's like, "Oh, dope idea. Let's do that instead of the me dying." She says she's kind of hungry, and Audrey is happy to fix her something, giving her a chance to break free. She manages to get one hand loose and uses it to pour water near her baby hole and smashes the glass, grabbing a shard. She yells out to Audrey, who comes rushing in telling her her water broke, immediately fetching Henry. Kind of hilariously, they're still out putting mice in the yard, while Ian bitches about the girl that runs the meetings, not even a true believer, and calls her a stupid skank that doesn't even really love the church. Oh man, that is too funny really. This guy is a weirdo. Sure, I trust him, let's do this evil incantation thing. To reiterate what a goob Ian really is, when they come into Shannon's room, he breaks the salt barrier when walking over it. I mean, come on, man. He gets to reading the incantation, and Henry gets a text from Yolanda, the girl Ian was just complaining about, saying that she needs to talk to him. He ignores it at first, and it looks like we got some real evil magic going here, the pentagram starting to come to life. And he finally answers to an upset Yolanda. Ian has snapped, she tells him, and killed his mother last night, even drawing symbols all over the walls. Some cops are here asking about the church, and she's just annoyed because, as suspected, she doesn't actually believe in any of this shit. Oh boy, well there you go. Went crazy and killed his mom just because she wanted to give you some tendies. And now we also know he's definitely not to be trusted with this whole thing set up here. I mean, just what the hell does this guy know? Not much, it seems. Ian cuts his hand and takes heavy steps towards them. The couple is worried, asking if everything is alright, and keep asking how we are supposed to know Jackson is inside. Him snapping, "When I'm finished!" Shannon pulls her shard on Audrey, demanding to be released. And of course, Henry immediately starts undoing her restraints. Ian stops him, calling this bigger than your stupid wife, and throws Shannon the keys. "I just want Jackson back," Audrey cries, and he coldly stabs her in the gut. "A mother's a mother," he says. So yeah, now Audrey is filling the role in the ritual as the required mother sacrifice to bring back the other soul. As you mentioned, the ghosts aren't picky. Henry takes her close as she starts to flutter away. Ian flicks blood on them, inviting the demon to take whichever one they want, while Shannon gets the rest of her chains undone. Ian cackles. He's coming back, and weirdly pulls back his hair. See, you can't even trust this guy's hair. How many secrets does this guy have? Ridiculous. Also, what the fuck is going on with his hair? Shannon gets him in the leg with a shard. A ghost guy enters and starts smooching on him, dragging him out of the room. When I had taken my notes, I was like, whoa, did that actually really happen? Because it was so hilariously weird, as it seems to be that Ian's fate is to become a love monkey for this demon. Nothing but crazy gold with this guy. The bagged up ghost enters, crawling over Shannon, spinning around, all a bundle of broken bones. Henry tells her to go, asking to forgive them, hearing squishy, squelching sounds from within. A demonic arm rising from within his back. Well, that's probably not good. Shannon flees the room and is turned into a friggin' ghost house bonanza up in here, going by Floss Lady and the Kid Ghost, and outside a creepy voice calls out, "Trick or treat!" its voice echoing. And who must be our big main demon dude shows up. Shannon finds the car keys, has to deal with the cop again, doing her thing for the 1 billionth time. Outside, the snowblower is cranking out snow mixed with gore, encountering a slashed up Rory, moaning about seeing his kids. What's more interesting though is she looks up to the window upstairs in her room, seeing little Jackson there, and another hand appears lifting him away. Who took him? No idea, but it does make sense that Jackson would be there. She's been seeing him pretty much the whole time, as we remember, and was to torch his soul and everything, he just didn't want to miss the party, you know? Shannon hightails it out of there, driving deep into a forested area, and comes to a stop. She spots someone walking in the road, who stops for a bit, noticing that they appear pregnant too. And then they just keep lumbering along off into the woods. Shannon looks down to her stomach, hearing the child's heartbeat. Right, a bit to unpack there, as we remember where their well-intentioned plan went astray. And guess what? It's all Ian's fault. He broke the barrier around the room, so any demons or spirits or whatever can just come waltzing in. If the barrier had stayed in place, since we know Jackson was in the room, it could have gone as intended, with Shannon being sacrificed and Jackson's soul resurrected in her body as a host. Point being, it could have been anything at this point that got in there. And thanks to some clues I found from the filmmakers, we know the demon at the end is called Vanth, who is eternally pregnant. And this is also who we saw climbing out of Henry. So it went from Audrey, who died, then was able to come to fruition in person via Henry's soul, using him as the host. It's also worth pointing out that the first part of the ritual was directed at Shannon, which was to open the doorway between the worlds. And it isn't closed in the end, which makes me believe that thanks to Vanth being eternally pregnant, Shannon will be as well, which is kind of weird. Or demon baby, I mean, who knows? But it definitely seems like Ian's intent was to leave the door open and bring this demon through, not what they were going for in the beginning. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of this ending explained on Anything for Jackson. You know, you really feel for the couple and their plight throughout, and it's weirdly a bummer to see their plan go so horribly wrong. But hey, that's what happens when you dabble with evil with that dingbat Ian as your guide. And before we go, don't forget you can send me requests for any movies or TV shows you'd like to see me explain by sending them my way on any of my social media accounts at FoundFlix. Got a little country twang in there. Oops, sorry about that. Yeehaw! Yeah. Just tweet me, y'all. Woohoo! What did you guys think of Anything for Jackson and its ending? What the heck do you think happened in the end? So start theorizing away by leaving your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.